Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. We're continuing through our demonstration game of Global War 1914. And where are we? Summer of 1916, and it's France's turn. Yesterday, we had Germany and Britain and Austria go. So now it's France's turn. Before we do anything, let's just go to the dice tray here. So France has two major factories, which means two rolls. We're going to go defense in depth. That's a 7 or more. Yeah, I'd say that's a 5, isn't it? Okay. And then we're going to go poison gas. So that's a 6 or more. 10. Well, there we go. France has chlorine gas. Well, that's good. So I'm going to change my purchase then. I'm going to get one less colonial troop. And I'm going to purchase some gas. Okay, so I've grabbed a marker. Now, next is diplomacy. We've got one free diplomacy roll, so we're going to go for Spain. We've been going for that one for a little bit now. Hang on a sec. I was just looking at the board. I guess we're on stage 1 for Spain. So here we go. Need a 3 or less. Got it. Nice. That means we can collect an IPP for Spain, and nobody's going to be able to stop that one because we're right on the border there between Spain and France. And they're also going to pay for one. That was a free one. They're going to go for the Netherlands. They do not want Austria-Hungary getting that one. But it's already started up the Austro-Hungarian track, so we need a 2 or less to bring it back down. And missed. Okay. That's that. Now, let's take a look over here. We've already got our mandatory offensive in for 1916, so we don't need to make an attack from here to here on the Western Front. If you want to see what we have over there, we've got lots. Now, we do have 9 artillery there, right? So I'm thinking, even though Germany's got counter battery fire, we've got 2 more artillery than them, so I think we are going to make an attrition attack against them. Who knows, it might not turn out for us, but we'll see. And over here, this is what France has bought. They bought a trench fighter, a Zouave. They're building that artillery in Washington. They've got 4 infantry, colonial troop, and a colonial troop upgrade into an infantry. So that's what's going on over there. So just that one thing, and also we'll do the seaplane against the sub down there in Gibraltar. Now let's move around to the other side. Okay, we've got a couple of attacks here. This one I'm not too fond of, but we're going to go anyway. So that's going into, I believe it's desert or mountains, one or the other. Anyway, we are going to have a modifier there. And also, we've got this one over here. So we're bringing these 2 guys down here into here. And there is no terrain here. So we've got 1 at 1 and 1 at 2 against 1 at 2. We're not strong enough to go against this guy. So those are the 2 attacks down here. Let's just stay down here and roll them. Why run around, huh? Okay. So they got 1 at 1 and 1 at 2 right here going against the cavalry at 2. So 1 at 1, missed. 1 at 2, missed. And the cavalry at 2, missed. All right. 1 at 1, 1 at 2, and the cavalry at 2. Oh, that's a hit. Okay, let's stop that after 2 rounds. Okay, then over in the other side of Africa, we've got 1 at 1 and 1 at 2 against 1 at 2. So same odds. 1 at 1, One at 2. One at 2. Missed. Okay, 1 at 1. 1 at 2. 1 at 2. Same result. Wow. We're still going to go though, because like I didn't want to lose a Zouave, but this time I'm only putting an infantry on the line. So 1 at 2 versus 1 at 2. Missed. And missed. Okay, that's the third round and we're done. Alright, we got to lose that colonial troop. And retreat. Okay, that didn't do so well for us, did it? Alright. Let's go with that seaplane as well. That's 1 at 3. Missed. Darn. Okay. Now, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 artillery attrition at 1. Yeah. Still no attrition hits. Wow. Okay. So let's do the Germans then. And they have 5 and 2. So 5 at 1 and 2 at 2. No hits for them. Alright. Looks like our artillery is not hitting. And so that's it for attacks. So France is not going to get a free roll next time. Move that off there before we forget. Okay, non-combat moves. Let's start over here before we forget. Now Romania, we want to make sure to take these ships out of port, because if somebody takes Romania, then they'll be rolling for ships, right? So let's move them over here with the French guys. Or sorry, the Russian guys. We are the French guys. Okay. And let's move this over. Okay. All right. We're going to move everything we have into Lorraine. Is there any reason why we shouldn't? Nothing. So I'm just going to move everything we have over to the task force marker. So that's 5 infantry, and there's 1 artillery, and there's 1 trench fighter, and there's 1 militia. Okay. And then let's take some guys with us here. There's that and that and that. Okay. Now one of the things I did was spent an IPP less because I mistakenly collected all of France's money, and I shouldn't have collected this one. When I took the guy off of here to go up here for an attack, I had forgotten to replace him with somebody else. And so I shouldn't have collected an IPP for that. Now this one isn't worth anything, so we're going to move that up. I'm just going to place and move my guys at once here, just because I'm down on the other side of the board. And then let's go over here. We've got some cruisers down here. So 1, no major ports. 2, 3, just outside of Gibraltar. And we already moved our seaplane back. Okay, let's move up here. All right, we're gonna come over here with a transport and see, we can move that guy, can't we? Actually, we're gonna collect this guy and this guy and move them up there. There we go. And we'll bring the rest of our ships up as well when we do it. Okay. And then this guy's going to move up to here. And I think that's it down here for movement. So let's place the Zouave here. And then the infantry upgrade has to go here. I think this is the only place I can put him because we've got the port here, right? Like I wouldn't have been able to put him here. I already knew that because there's no way to get in there. And from here, there's no railway or nothing. So had to be here. So there we go. Let's go back to the other side. Putting our stuff on here. We've got 4 infantry. So let's put 3 in Paris. Down here in southern France. We can put a chip under one of these. There we go. We've got our artillery. We're placing that over in the United States. We've got this thing. Now, poison gas, when you purchase poison gas, it goes on, you know, when you put everything else on. So we purchased it on the purchase units phase. It does not need anything but artillery to place it. So you can place it anywhere on the board where you have artillery. So they're putting it here. You know what, let's just leave it on the board over here because there's nothing in that space. But I mean, I could have put them on the task force marker too, right? And then this guy's going in there as well. So I'll just put a chip under that. And I'll show you what I have over there in one moment. As soon as I finish fumbling around here. Okay. So that's what we have here. Let's count up the all-important infantry. That's 5, 10, 15, 20, 3. And a Zouave. Should be 10 artillery now. We got a fighter. We got 3 trench fighters. We got a militia. And then there's the British as well, right? Okay. It would have, oh, and also obviously that artillery that I placed over in New England. It would have been nice to be able to, you know what? Instead of placing that infantry in southern France, let's put him over here, okay? I was going to say it would be nice to be able to put something there. Okay, so I'll take 4 off and I'll put a 5 chip on because we're placing an infantry there. So there we go. Just make it tougher on the Austrians to take that out. There we go. Because we do have a factory there, we can place infantry, right? We've got the manpower icon, so we can place 1 there. We could have also placed something else like artillery. We could have placed that and an infantry if we wanted to. And we don't need to trace it back to the home country. All we need to do is trace it to a factory, and there's the factory, right? So that's what we did. Okay. Last thing. Wartime economy. What's France at right now? They are 22, plus they've got Spain, that's 23. Spain is at level 2, so they get to collect for them. And, ooh, that's not too good. 23 and 5 is 28. Wow, that's no good at all. I mean, better than nothing. We had more money last time though. Oh well. Anyway, that's it for France. Let's move on to the Ottoman Empire. Alright, time for the Ottoman Empire. So the Ottomans have one major factory. They're going to go for improved logistics. So they need a 7 or more. And they get it. Good start. They don't have any freebies as far as the diplomacy chart goes, and they're not going to purchase any because they're not that rich. They only had 18 IPP. They're buying 4 infantry, a colonial troop, and a camel corps. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Now, the Ottomans are actually having a pretty good game. Like this guy has withstood, I don't know how many attacks now. So he's doing well. And last turn, these guys beat the piss out of the Brits right here. They've got 2 trench lines set up here. Nice of them to have defense in depth. So they're holding the British at bay. They're not expanding, but at the same time, they're not. They've only lost 1 territory, so that's pretty good for them, right? They couldn't hope for that much more. They've also did a bit of convoying with that sub, and we're going to do that again. Let's move this sub over here. There's one place there that doesn't have an escort. I guess I should put an escort there for the Allies. And also we're going to try what we did last time, and that is to go for up here. We would really like to start putting some pressure on. This guy's not actually in there. I don't know if you can see, but this is Armenia as a separate territory here. So all of these guys are going up here. We've got 2 Ottoman guards, so that's their elite unit. And they've got an infantry, an artillery, and a mountain infantry. And then, you know, like we've got lots of units down here, and we could attack if we wanted to, but, you know, why would we? We're in the desert. Let them come to us, right? We don't really need to go to them. Sure, it would be nice to break into Africa. And, you know, truth be told, if there was a time to do it, it would be now, because they've only got 3 things here, and 2 of them defend it too. But if we come down here, they've also got these guys that can come up here, right? I mean, they can move some in there, but their trench line would be gone, right? I just think it'd be better to defend there than attack. But, you know, not every game. Like some games, I'd feel more inclined to attack, right? One thing we haven't done is take some units up there and start moving over and attacking Greece. We're kind of leaving that to the Austrians, but maybe that's a big ask for them. Maybe that's something that we could think about coming up here, is starting to move some units towards Greece that way to help out with the Austrians so that they can dedicate what they're doing to the Italians and the Russians, because they're really 3-sided defense right now with all 3 of those nations going at them. Anyway, let's do that convoy and the Russian attack. So the Ottoman dice is going to be the black one, and they're +1, and that's a miss. All right. What do we got here? We've got 1 artillery, so that's going into mountains. That's a 3. That's a miss. And let's see. We got 1 at 1 and 3 at 2. So which one should we kick up? Actually, yeah, 1 at 1. So let's make him the black one. There's 1 at 1, 2 at 3, and we'll kick up the mountain infantry. Here we go. The mountain infantry is going to go at 3 here. There we go. Okay, we got a hit with the mountain. There we go. So, they've only got 2 infantry there. Let's roll 2 at 4. No hits. Okay, let's do that again. Here, let's do these ones. And the artillery is going to be green, so same as last time. Okay, that's another hit with the mountain. Boy, that mountain infantry there. He looks like he picked a good time to quit drinking. Anyway, circle gets the square. So we take these guys off. I'll show you in a minute what I'm doing here. Okay, there we are. The Russians, or the Ottomans, have taken some Russian territory there. So good for them. I'm wondering where they're down the mixture one. Let me just look around here. So that's 1. Oh, there's the other one right there. Okay, because they're down to 9. They're up 1 and down 2. All right, non-combat moves. Let's move this up here so we can see. Okay, we're gonna move 1 Ottoman dude up here and 1 here. Okay, Lose 3 there. What do we purchase? We purchased 4. We've got a rail capacity of 1. I don't think we need to rail any down though. Here, let me just shift this a bit. There we go. Let's move these 2 guys forward and move one of these guys forward. Here, let's move this one because we're going to place some there. So we've got our colonial troop. We'll place him down here where we lost one before. And we've got our camel corps. Let's place him over here in northern Iraq. And we've got 4 infantry. That's 1, 2. 3, 4. There we go. Let's come back here. Looking for a better roll this time. Actually, last time was pretty good, wasn't it? I think we got a 10 last time. Something like that. So we got our wartime economy roll. 7. So 7 plus 8 is 15. Oh, you know what? I didn't collect it last time. We also have a bonus of 2 because we can trace a line from Constantinople to Berlin. So let's collect 4 for that. 15 plus 4 is 19. All right. And there we go. That's the Ottoman Empire. Let's move on. Okay. Imperial Russia. So they've got 1 major factory. They're going to go for defense in depth. And they got it. Okay. But that only takes them to stage 3. You notice that I go for mostly the same ones, especially with these guys in Europe. That's because those are the best ones. Like, I think, anyway, I mean, you can decide for yourself, but wartime economy is good for everybody. Defense in depth is good for people in Europe because that's where you're going to see trench lines. So you're much better off having a trench line at 4 than you are at 6 because it makes it that much harder to break it if you can stifle somebody's attack. So the Russians would love to get defense in depth. Then they don't have to have such a big line to do that, right? Anyway, we've got 1 freebie roll on the diplomacy chart, and that will be the Netherlands. So we need, just like the French earlier, we need a 2 or less, and that's a miss. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got here, and here, let's move right back. So this is all of the Russians here. Everything the Russians have, you can see, except for 1 guy in Iran. He's a militia. And there's a couple guys back here that came from the United States. So our capital is down here. Now, we got lots of units, right? And we're in a position where we could attack something good, right? Like our best attack. Let's move forward now. Our best attack would be here against the Germans because we can take out 3 artillery, right? What do they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now they've got defense in depth, which means that they've got a trench line. We can hit them though. We can go from here and here, right? And that's good. But the problem is all of these Austrian guys here, right? They've got a lot more Austrians than we've got Russians. It's good that we've got the French on our side as the Russians because they've got a shit ton of guys here, and that blocks here. Now that Romania was always going to open up in this game, whether the Austrians took them out earlier in the game or we waited until the French took over. That was eventually going to happen. So that was expected. But the question is, like, did Austria get the jump on Russia? And we know that they didn't. If you've been watching this from the beginning, you know that the Austrians were a slow starter in this game. They're doing okay now with the help of the Germans, and now with the help of the Ottomans as well, right? They're doing okay as far as defense goes. But you know what? They're never going to be an offensive power in this game, the Austrians. You do hope that they do better against the Russians than they have done to this point. But now that we've gotten to this point in the game, we're 2 turns away from starting to roll for the Russian Revolution. The first turn in 1917. So we've got the winter turn coming up in 1916. And then on the following turn, we're going to roll for the Russian Revolution. And that's, in the beginning, I don't think that the roll is going to be very strong. Like it can happen, but it might not. But then there's also random events which could take the Russians to revolution as well. Like we've really weighted it towards the Russians going to revolution. So a couple of things that we need to realize for that. Here, I want to sit down. I want to talk about this a little bit. So when it comes to Russia being on, like this is a 2-sided game if you're not playing with the Russian Revolution expansion set. If you are playing with it, then it's going to be a 3-sided game maybe at some point. And so at about this point in the game, like the Americans have been lend-lease into the Russians, and you consider the Russians to be on your side. But now you've got to consider the fact that Russia might not be on your side very much longer. And in fact, they might be your enemy soon. And so how much more do you want to lend lease to them, right? Like we could help them out right now. The British and the French could both lend lease to them, and the Americans, and that would prop them up. That would make them very strong. But there's still a good likelihood that they would go to revolution even if we did that. And so the more stuff they have when that happens, the more stuff they're going to have going into the revolution. When I say they, I mean the Red Army then, and that's who we're going to be against, is the Soviet Red Army. We're going to be on the side of the White Army as the Allies, right? And in fact, everybody in the game, even the Central Powers, are going to be in the side of the White Army. So that's, like these are the kinds of things that we need to consider, right? It's pretty much expected that Russia is going to, at some point, start collapsing their line. It's surprising that it's taken this long, but when you look at it now, you can see it happening, right? Like I said, we could attack this one here, but what does that leave us for defense after that? Like, sure, let's say they were successful and they took out the Germans here. Well, they've got hardly anything to put in here now, right? They've only got one guy here. They've got less guys here than the Austrians have. Like it would be different if they had more than the Austrians and they could attack here and they could attack here. Then they'd be styling, right? But that's not the case here. The fact is that they're stronger than the Germans right here, but much weaker than the Austrians right here. And so for us to push forward against the Germans would open us up in the back to the Austrians. And that's why we need to consider as Russia what we're going to do at this point. Because like I said with the Allies, they have to wonder, how much more to lend lease. Well, the Russians at this point also have to kind of edge themselves towards putting themselves in a better position going into the revolution. And there's no way of knowing if that's going to happen for them. And so it's kind of, it's a real guessing game. Will it happen or won't it happen? There's just no guarantee. And if it does happen, like, when does it happen? Like, does it happen 2 turns from now? Does it happen 5 turns from now? Or 6 turns from now? We just don't know, right? I'm thinking right now that the Russians should be more defensive than offensive. They're sitting in a good defensive position. They just bought 6 infantry, the artillery that goes into Washington, and a Cossack. They bought a Cossack because the Ottomans have finally stretched them out. It's taken the Ottomans a while to break in, but now that they have, that's going to stretch the Russian defense out quite a bit, because they do have quite a bit down there, right? Like the Russians are going to need to put an infantry down there and a Cossack down here, and then even then the Ottomans can continue to move on them, but they've got to plug that hole down there, right, as best they can. So they can't just put everything, like go on a major offensive over here and then replenish everything. And that's why I think that they need to go defensive here. And who knows, maybe things could turn around, right? Like maybe France gets the jump on Austria, or who knows what happens, right? But for right now, for this turn, I think it's best for the Russians to not go for a big attack. And there's no small attacks here. I'm looking at it there. There just doesn't seem to be anything small. Like the smallest one is here, but is it really worth it? You got 2 infantry, 1 artillery, 1 Cossack, and 2, 4. He's got a trench line here. Defense in depth is quite powerful. Like, it's hard to believe, but this is actually a trench line. Anyway, you can see what I mean, though, right? It's some tough decisions to make at this point in the game here in 1916 as you move through this turn. Like you could choose the other way. You could let's pile all our stuff into Russia, and like when we were working with the old Lend-Lease rules, you could Lend-Lease half of Russia's money in there, cut like you could with version 3 of the game, and Russia could be incredibly powerful, and it's not likely that they'd be going to revolution, or not as likely, right? I mean, like I said, sometimes there's just no avoiding it. There's a good chance it's going to happen, so we need to start preparing for that, both as the Allies and as the Russians, because once that happens, like the Germans and Austrians and the Ottomans collapse Russia a bit, they take a few territories, then the Russians go to revolution. Well, now they take all of their units off of there and they go the other way, right? There's no need to defend the Eastern Front anymore. All their units go towards France or Italy or the Balkans or down in the Middle East. Like, you just literally turn on a dime and start marching the other way. So that's what these guys want to do. Like over here on the other front, the Austrians and the Germans and the Ottomans, and that's what I've been doing, is setting up defenses over there. Is you just need to defend over there. You don't need to break through. You just need to defend, collapse the Russians, and then turn around and finish the game off strong on the other side. Unless, of course, you're already strong. Like if you're already beating them, then by all means keep going. But anyway, here we go. Do the Russians have any attacks? I guess they've got that sub down there, don't they? That they can go with. They might as well do any attrition. Not against the Germans though, because the Germans have counter battery. Actually, here wouldn't be so bad because, like that's 3 against 3. Unfortunately, not adjacent to that one. As you've seen though, attrition is not that powerful, right? But let's do it anyway, because you never know. Okay, we've got 1 artillery going into Galicia, so that's 1 at 1. Missed. And you know what? We are going to go from Warsaw to Congress, Poland. That's 3 artillery at 1. And then the counter battery fire by the Germans, 3 artillery at 1. And those are misses. Okay. And then we've got the convoying, so that's the black dice, and it's +1. Okay, so 1 IPP off the Ottomans, and I'll take that off after this turn. I don't need to run down there just to take $1 off right now. Okay, non-combat moves. Okay, so we've got our rail capacity. Let's take these guys here and rail them all the way down to here. And that's the capacity in Russia. It's only 2, so that's all of our capacity there. And now we need to spread these guys out. One thing we can do is we can put this guy here. That's pretty good right there. Although I think I might want to move the Cossack off there. Actually, let's move this Cossack here, over to here. They go 2 spaces, right? Let's leave this one here, make it more difficult for him to get in here. As you've seen throughout this game, it doesn't take much sometimes to defend a territory, right? Like, sure, if a guy can go 10 rounds at you, you know what? That's one thing, but we're going into the winter turn, so Germany's only got 1 turn to get through there, right? The Austrians still have 2 turns, though, so we got to watch for them. Okay. Let's take this guy off. And we'll put a chip on. And then we'll move, let's move 2 guys over here. Put this guy back on. Okay. And there's not much more we can move around, is there? I suppose we could move this guy. We don't really need him anymore now that the French are on our side. Which direction should we move him? Towards the Ottomans? No, I think we move him here. Okay. There we go. I do believe that's it. So, we've got 6 infantry. Okay, I'll put 1 down here. And definitely put 1 here. That's 2, 3, 4. Oh, we can't put it there. That's German territory, or was German territory. So 5, put that there. Let's put them right here. 6, and a Cossack. Let's see. You know, if we put them here, then we can go either way, right? So let's do that. And then the last thing is the artillery that goes to Washington, or to the United States. I put them in New England this time because I could reach there easier. That's the only reason. Okay, wartime economy. And 4, 5, 6. I was thinking about convoy in there. No, that's 6. And the Russians are at 18. So that's 24. Where are we? So that's less than before, that's for sure. Everybody's money's going down this turn, I think. Except for the British. The British had more this turn. So that's it. Who's next? It'll be Italy next. Or no. Yeah, I think Italy next and then Japan. Okay, it's the Kingdom of Italy's turn. They are going to, they've got 1 factory, major factory. So, here we go. Wartime economy. 8. Okay, there we go. Stage 1. Well, they've got a ways to go. And I think they're done with the rolling. Pretty simple turn for them. They've got 8 IPP. They're going to go for an infantry upgrade right here. Because this, whoever controls this space here, controls this straight here. So we better watch that one. And 2 infantry. So 1 in Rome, 1 in northern Italy. Now, unless they buy more transports, that's probably enough stuff in Rome. Like really, if they didn't have landing shots, then I wouldn't even worry about having that much stuff in there, right? But there we go. Okay. And we've already moved our boats around where we wanted to have them anyway, so there's not much point in going any further. And that's it for Italy. All right, Japan's got the 1 major factory, so let's go for wartime economy. They're at stage 3. Oh, they missed it. Too bad. Okay. They purchased. They're going to start a cruiser, so that is going to go down on stage 3. That's $3. They've got a naval infantry and they've got a transport, and that's 14 IPP. That's exactly how much money they have. So, we've got some German boats down in the water there, so we got to watch out for them. Let's go 1, 2 into here with the transport, and the naval infantry. What kind of terrain is that? Can't really tell, can you? Let's just call it regular terrain. Let's do the artillery. Is that it? Sure. I think so. Okay. Oh, I forgot the cruiser. I'm taking a cruiser down there with those guys as well. So, landing shots, I've got 1 at 4 and 1 at 2. The 4 is the black one, 2 is the yellow one. Misses. So then we've got 1 naval infantry at 2, and actually we might as well just roll the other guy as well. So the naval infantry is blue and the colonial troop is white. They're both at 2. Missed. Now the artillery gets out, and we have the artillery will be blue, or sorry, the artillery is black, and then the naval infantry will be at 3 now. Colonial infantry still at 2. Okay, so that's a hit there with the naval infantry. All right. I forgot to tell you about the other ships down there too. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, that's worth an IPP. So we're up to 14 there, which means they can collect 7 as the Allies. The Germans are down to 37. The Japanese are up to 14 now. Okay. Now, oh, here I gotta show you this. So these guys here are going to go after the cruiser raider. 2 at 1 versus 1 at 1. Let's make the yellow one the cruiser raider. Oh, look at that. They got the cruiser raider. They hit him. Okay. Good thing they had 2 of them, right? And I believe that's it for the Japanese turn. So, this guy didn't move this turn, so now he's repaired. We'll put the cruiser down and the transport and the naval infantry. So now they're at 14 IPP, which means that they can collect 7. You know what? We are at wartime economy. I forgot about that. They had, because I know I rolled for it last time, so they must have been in there. You know what? I'm just going to go check the tape on the last game there, or the last round. Yeah, okay, so I went and I watched that back. I had to go back a few videos because it happened 2 turns ago, and I thought that because, I mean, why else would Japan have 14 IPP, right? When they only collect 6, so obviously they had a wartime economy. I either forgot to move the pie forward on the tech chart, or maybe I bumped it or moved it off somehow when I was moving other ones around. Anyway, long story short, they do have wartime economy, so let's roll that. They're going to get 7 IPPs plus 7 is 14, so same as last time. Anyway, that's good. Let's move on to the Americans. All right, it's the United States turn. So the Americans are at 32 IPP right now, and the wartime income level level that they need to declare war is 37. So if they get a 5 or more here with a D6, then they can declare war on the Central Powers. Actually, there's a few things they can do, but let's just roll and find out. 2. Okay, so that means they go to 34. And that means there's no guarantee they'll get it next time either, because if they rolled another 2, then they would only go to 36. But you know what? Things kind of even out over the course of a game, right? And they had a lot of big rolls to begin with, so a couple of small rolls just kind of brings it down to an average, right? Anyway, Americans, now they can do combat down here if they would like to enforce the Monroe Doctrine. Let's take a look here. So with the Germans, when I took the German turn, I only put 1 infantry down here. I could have put more stuff down there, but I didn't. The thing is, the Germans could use their money in Europe more. They've already sacrificed Africa and the Pacific, and the reason they did that was because the Central Powers started the game off pretty badly up in Europe. Both them and Austria just had horrible luck in the first turn. So they've been playing catch up, and they've kind of caught up there now. But if they were to have placed more units in Africa and Asia, or made it much more difficult for them, they'd probably be in better or worse shape. But one thing I was able to do because of the diplomacy was get this. And then, you know, I did spend some money down here for the Germans. Now, what that means is that the Americans are going to have to spend a number of resources getting them out of there. And they do want to get them out of there. I mean, there's points to be had down here, right? Plus, there's money to be had for the Americans. So what the Germans did is they put just enough down there. They've got 2, 4, 6 infantry and 2 colonial troops. And they're all in terrain, right? So the Americans are going to have quite a bit of stuff just to get them out of there, right? And the more that America spends on South America, the less they're going to spend on going to Europe. At this point, when they're just about ready, just about at their wartime income, what they like to be doing is piling up transports and troops on the East Coast and getting ready to sail to Europe. And in fact, I think at 30 IPPs they can start sailing, right? But instead they're having to sail down south. So the Germans really did do their job down here. So if you're wondering, you know, like, why didn't he do more in Africa and Asia? This was a choice I made. You can't do everything in this game that you want to do. You have to make choices. And this was the choice that I made with the Germans, was to go hard in Europe. I should have done a little bit more, I think, with subs. But then I did what I could do down here in South America, as you see. So the Americans are going to have a tough time rooting them out of there. Now, one thing we could do, let's see here. They can't make it there. I was thinking they could bring a transport down here with the 2 U.S. Marines, but they can't reach that far, right? But that's a reason for them to leave 1 transport down there, isn't it? Give them that option. So I don't think they can go right now when you're looking at it. They've got a horse and a U.S. Marine here, but they're going into, actually I don't know, that isn't terrain, is it? Yeah, that's not terrain at all. So maybe they could go into there. They'd have 2 at 3, 2 at 2, and they've got 2 at 4 and 2 at 2. So they're still, you know what, let's go for it. The Americans haven't done anything this game. And we'll bring the cavalry in there. And that's it. Oh, I should tell you what I bought here. So they do have, and I haven't even rolled yet. What am I thinking here? Let's roll first. We've got 4 factories. I was going to say we have improved construction, so that's going to factor into our what we purchased. Anyway, let's see, what are we going for here? We're going for strategic bomber, and we got it. That's at stage 4 now. We're going for wartime economy, need a 7. We got that, so that's good. And improved logistics, need a 7. Missed. And let's go improve factories. They got it. Okay. So even though they've got wartime economy, they won't be able to roll for it because they're not at war yet, right? So that's too bad, so sad for them. Okay, you've seen what we're attacking there. It is, let's see, 2 infantry, a U.S. Marine, and a cavalry. Okay, so 2 infantry, a U.S. Marine, and a cavalry. So 2 at 2, 2 at 3. All misses. And then the other guys have got 2 at 2 and 2 at 4. The 2 red ones will be at 4. Okay, that's 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits. Whoa. That was big time. So 3 hits. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. Okay, that's these 2. And the cavalry. And we are, of course, going to retreat with our tail firmly between our legs. That was not a good start. All right. Now we don't have to worry about them coming up here because they've got no transports. So we'll just bring our guys down here. The 2 Marines as well. So there we go. Yeah, I think that's all we can do. And then, non-combat move. Let's bring 1 transport back, along with that torpedo boat. And we'll bring the transport up to the east coast. Let's bring the cruiser down in case he would like to do a landing shot. We'll see, right? So that's what we look like over there. East or the west coast doesn't matter. They have no enemies over there. So I haven't even placed anything there. Okay, what I purchased was the Dreadnought, which was at stage 2. And then I also purchased a transport. Okay, let's move this up here. So they're $1 cheaper each. Okay. Then also, we have got into the artillery business. So we're going to place one of them down in Texas. There's a factory down there. We're going to place the U.S. Marine up here in Washington, as well as the artillery in Washington. And then the last thing is, okay, now we pick up the artillery the cash and carry artillery. So the British one's going here, the French one's going here, and they lend-leased infantry to the British and the French. Remember I talked earlier in this video about they're going to be careful not to give the Russians any. Well, the Russians aren't too happy about this, but what can they do? Maybe I just won't talk to that Russian player anymore. Screw him. French guy's going there. Okay, and then we've got the Russian artillery from cash and carry. He's going where he usually goes. So, yeah, I guess we can't roll for wartime economy. So that's the American turn. And they collect 34 IPPs. So it's the Republic of China's turn. Pulling 3 cards. First one, nationalists. Add +2 on a recruitment roll if Japan is central. No, they're not. So the next part of it is, if not central powers aligned, add 1 militia to the nationalists. Okay, we can do that. And I'll put him in, I'm going to put him in Hope. Okay. Next card. Ennui. Conduct a mandatory offensive. Okay. I could read you the whole thing, but it just explains it further. So, we have to do a mandatory offensive for the Ennui. Luckily, they're adjacent to the nationalists. Otherwise, we'd have to attack another warlord. So we've got 2 choices. We own this territory, we own this territory. These guys could attack here, but the problem is if we do that and we win, then we've got to move all those guys into there, and then they got easy access to our city. And if we attack this guy, well, we're better on defense than we are on offense going against him, aren't we? So let's take these guys here and we'll attack up at the top there. So that's 1 at 2 and 1 at 1. Actually, they're both at 1 because they're going into mountains. So 2 at 1, and they're defending at 4. So 2 at 1 and 1 at 4 for everybody there. Misses. Oh, sorry, it only lasts 1 round. I was thinking it was like a, whatchamacallit there, random event. It isn't. Okay, so only 1 round. And no damage done to them. Would have been nice to take 1 off the other guys, but anyway. Xinjiang. Add 1 cavalry to any territory. Okay. Both of those territories belong to the nationalists. This guy defends at 4, this guy defends at 2. Let's go after that guy. Alright. So they are in mountains. That means we're both at 2. And this has got to go on to the end, because we have to have a winner there. It's the mandatory offensive that only lasts 1 round. So the blue one will be the Xinjiang, and the green one will be the nationalists, both at 2. Missed. Missed. 2 12s. We are missing. Okay, the Xinjiang won. So that means that the nationalist dude comes off. There we go. Alright, that's 3 cards. So, time for the nationalists to go. Now they have 6 IPP, so they're going to buy 2 infantry. And what are we going to do? Now we got to remember, next turn is the winter. Should we attack that city? The problem is we've only got this 1 infantry there. I think that we probably shouldn't attack that city. It's a shame we didn't have another cavalry over here, because we could attack that cavalry. But if we attack them now, it'll be 1 at 1 versus 1 at 2. Okay, I don't think they're going to attack, but they are going to non-combat move. Let's move this guy up here so that he can go after that next time. And let's move the 2 infantry. And we'll move 1 militia up there too. So let's just put a chip under that one. Okay. And this guy comes off. They don't get a return attack because they didn't get attacked. They could non-combat, but again, they don't want to do that for the same reasons as we spoke about before. If they have if these guys have a mandatory offensive, we want to be able to go from something weak against them. Although, you know what we could do? We could bring this guy over here. Well, then he's got a better chance of losing, doesn't he? Let's just leave it like that. Okay, so that one wasn't worth anything. And I guess that just means that they get $6 back and they place 2 infantry. Let's place 1 up here. Is there a mandatory or manpower icon here? Ah, there is 2. Good. Let's put 1 here. Okay, there we go. And that is it for the summer of 1917. We'll be going to the winter turn next, but this will be the end of this video. So, take a pan around for you there. There we go. Nice slow walk around. Central Powers are looking a little bit better than they did before. Western Front's not looking so good for them, but everywhere else is looking a little bit better than it did before, especially since the Ottomans moved into Russia there. Anyway, that's all I got for you today, so take care everyone. General Hand Grenade out.